Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we will try to understand about the probes, which we are going to discuss on this section. We're going to understand and master the probes. So there are two probes over here. So as you can see, readiness probes and liveness probes. Here, as you can see, that the readiness probe and the liveness probes are completely different probe. And these probes can be present in terms of your Kubernetes configuration file, irrespective you are using either one of them or a combination of both is also fine. You can have them at your disposal. Now in this video we are going to understand the differences between these both of these probes, and then we are going to also understand about some of the common patterns which these probes are available for, and as well as like some of the explanation towards that. I've given you a theory here, so you can read it out whenever you want it. But I'm just gonna, explain it to you over here. Firstly, the difference between readiness probe and liveness probe. On the hands-on session, we are going to first understand the readiness probe. We have already did work on the readiness probe on the deployment session, wherein which I have shown you some troubleshooting also on the readiness probe. So we will look at that one more time in a different way, and we will try to compare that with liveness probe, and you can actually understand how different it is in terms of hands-on. But let me just give you a heads up in terms of the theory part as well. Sorry about my voice. So the first thing which we're going to look at is the readiness probe, which is on your left side. So whenever anyone defines in a YAML file, they will always put the readiness probe first and then the liveness probe. If you understand, the reason for that is because the first thing which is going to be executed or looked at upon by your Kubernetes is the readiness probe. Readiness probe's purpose is that the readiness probe is used to determine when a pod is ready to serve traffic. It checks whether the container is ready to handle request. So which means that this is the first thing it's going to look out for when you are preparing your deployment in terms of the container deployment by your Kubernetes. So the Kubernetes, as you've seen previously on the videos, the ready state 0/1, like that it will say, right? Number of containers within a pod and how many containers are ready. So basically it tells 1 out of 1, which says actually the container is ready. So to get to that state, it needs to clear off the readiness probe. The readiness probe helps that to say that this container can be ready and it can be published. So that's the main reason of having a readiness probe. And the next one is the liveness probe helps the container to be available, as in like it keeps on verifying. Let me tell you the purpose of it, and then you will understand. The liveness probe is used to determine when a container within a pod is alive or needs to be restarted. It also checks whether the container is responsive and functioning as expected. So, for example, if a container fails, the liveness probe will ask the Kubernetes to restart the container automatically. This helps maintain the overall health of the application. Then when you compare the typical use case for your readiness probe and the liveness probe, I would say a readiness probe, delays sends traffic to the pod until the dependencies like database, cache, or any other dependencies, or even the application, whatever you're looking out for. Like for example, here you're looking out for this particular URL and this port number to be established. So it will wait for that to be established because you've given the thresholds over here. And once that is ready, then it will actually allow the load balancer to connect to this pod, to this container on the pod, to be very precise. But in terms of liveness pod is completely different because it's not gonna has no connection to the load balancer, or it does not look at beyond itself. The typical use case for a liveness probe is like it basically makes sure that your container is working fine, and whatever you have given over here as the criteria for it to verify, it keeps on verifying on the port number 8080 with this content called /health. So it will keep on verifying this, whether this is working or not. In case there is anything happens to this, for example, this is one scenario. You can also check the health of your application by also redirecting it to a different URL, getting like heap space information with a command. I'll show you that later point of time. Yeah, or if you're running a database, you can run a query and check whether that query is working or not. So likewise, you can do multiple options over here, which can actually help you not just to check whether or route the users. That's a different situation which the readiness probe will take care of. But then this guy, what it will do is like it will go beneath your application and check whether your application is responding or not. So that will actually what it will look out for is that kind of in-depth digging into your application and checking whether your application is good enough to be live. If it fails any of this criteria, then it's going to restart the container. When it restarts the container, it's going to call the readiness probe. The readiness probe will do the same check and it will verify whether that application is running or not. And then once it is running, then it will actually go for the ready state, allowing the cluster to to have this particular server under the load balancer. If not, it won't be under the load balancer. So this is what I wanted to tell you in terms of the difference between readiness and the liveness probe. Now let's go to some of the criteria. So here you have the three criteria which can be part of your readiness probe and liveness probe. The first one is your HTTP GET. Very simple one. HTTP GET, as you can see over here in this example, we are using HTTP GET. So you have a path, you have a port. So it will basically go fetch that file from this or this location from this port number, and that's all it does. So for this to work, you need to have the right port number, and you need to have the service running when this this particular whatever the Nginx or whatever is running. Then it's gonna go with the criteria over here, which we've already seen, which we will see later also. And it will, once it satisfies that, then the success threshold is just once. So once it satisfies this threshold, it's gonna go and say it's ready, and it's gonna monitor this URL continuously. And if there's a failure in this URL, it's gonna restart the container, and then it goes to readiness probe for it to be ready. And then it comes to liveness probe, because every time it restarts the container has to verify whether that readiness probe is ready for it to be part of the load balancer again. And the another one is TCP socket. Now, people would rather go for HTTP most of the time, HTTP GET rather than TCP socket, because when your application is hung, your TCP socket will be working, because you will be only looking for this port number. You will not be fetching any files. So HTTP GET is more commonly used when compared with the TCP socket, because HTTP GET will actually get that information and it will verify that the application is running. In terms of EXEC, it's an execution of a command. So we will check in the practical session. Yeah, we will check the practical session. It's not there here. So we will check in the practical session on how we can configure an EXEC action. And this basically executes a command, whatever you wanna verify. Basically, it is equal to checking a file if it's there, or executing a command and seeing the output of the command, and then based on that you can actually set an action. So likewise, execution and action is going to be part of the command specified within a container to check and execute and based on the exit status, right? So when you execute a command, you kind of get two kind of status. So this is how I run the scripts and all those things all the time. When I execute a previous command, I'll get a 0 or 1. So basically, one tells me that it is working, another one tells me it doesn't work. So based on that exit command, this health state is going to work. So if the command executes fine and there is no issue, then it's going to continue saying that it's healthy. And if there is no, if it turns out to be having an error, then it's going to come out saying that there is an exception and I need to restart the container. So that's basically is your 3 options over here as part of your readiness and liveness props. So there is no specific option towards these 2 props specifically. All these 3 options is applied for both your readiness and liveness props. And